from each other. So the Katanga part is actually my province is just above Katanga. Like we are in border, so the Katangese can literally just walk into, because I come from the place called Kivu. I think you've heard of Kivu, like where all the wars are happening at the moment.
Okay.
All the war
it's war,
natural resources.
So it's war there now.
It's not really war. It's a cold war. Like it's a silent war where people are dying, but there's no, like, it's a political war. So it's happening in silence, to the point that people who are out there, they don't see what's happening, but people are literally being killed, still being killed in some areas, in some remote areas.
Right.
And there's like a lot of genocide still taking place in some of the remote areas. But I come from the place called Goma. So Goma is the town, the capital of the state of North Kivu, where I come from. And in Goma, obviously, people who live in Goma, they don't know nothing. They don't see any violence. They don't experience what people who live in remote areas experience. Because, as you can understand, rural areas are more endangered because they're not protected. There's no much government influence around there. So rebel groups will easily come in, because Congo is a rich country. Everybody wants a piece of Congo.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And so countries like Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania, and Burundi, they will literally just send the troops into Congo, steal natural resources, and go back home. But the worst thing now is the fact that Kagame, which is the president of Rwanda, he works with the international community to be able to get what's in Congo without paying the Congolese government. And the only way to do that is by by creating fear, wars, scaring the local people, and chasing them out of town, and then steal natural resources and get them free of charge. And that's what been going on for the last, let's say, for the last 60 years.
Wow.
I mean, it's been bad since Independence Day. Since we kicked them out of the country, they didn't really go, because one of the Belgian leaders said that before independence equal after independence, because even after Lumumba had claimed Congo a free country and kicked all the Belgians out, all the white people out, and gave all the lands back to the people, we still they somehow managed to cause war in a way that you have the land, but you don't live in that land in peace. They make sure that you don't actually see the goodness of your land. You don't have time to work the land. You don't have time to enjoy the inheritance that we would pass down by our ancestors.
Right.
And so you realize that Katanga is one of the natural, because almost the eastern part of Congo in general is the most mineral wealth place in the world. Yeah, in the world, like with 85% of coltan, 65% of uranium, gold, zinc, copper, all diamond, all these are just even petrol, like all kind of anything you name it, you find in that area of Africa. And it's a shame that the problem is that other Africans are behind, are being used
selling each other out, right?
Exactly, yeah. Right. So because we as Bantu people, we're surrounded by Nilotic people.
Right.
Like in Rwanda, the president of Rwanda is a Nilot, the president of Uganda is a Nilot. There's a lot of Nilotic tribes in Congo, in Rwanda, and Burundi, and those people are easily used by the West because they're not a dignified people. Right. They don't stand by their words.
Right.
So they're easily manipulated into controlling the masses, controlling the majority. And so the same story in Rwanda. The Tutsis, who are like the minority population, are the majority in power.
Okay.
So the whole country is in the hands of a minority group of people, while the whole majority is suffering and obviously not benefiting from what the country can produce.
Right.
But yeah, so Katanga, there are a lot of people that came from Katanga. You know, like the current president of Congo is a Muluba.
Now,
When
we say, okay, I hear Bakongo. Okay, what's the difference between Maluba, Baluba? I can't. I'm still a little bit. They're saying Maluba and Baluba. Then you have in Bakongo. What's the difference?
It's a bit complicated if you understand it in a Eurocentric perspective, because everything was changed and switched and just to confuse, to control the narrative. But so when you say Baluba and Muluba, obviously a Muluba is one person from the Baluba tribe. The Baluba is like in Bantu language, when you have Ba and Mu, Ba means like many, Mu means one.
Gotcha.
So you are Muluba.
Muluba. I got you.
Yeah. The Baluba are your people, Baluba people, but you are the Muluba.
Muluba.
Yeah. Like I am Muhunde, my tribe is Bahunde.
Bahunde, okay.
But now these tribes, like I told you, we all have one origin. Congo, there's no tribe called Congo people.
Right.
Congo wasn't really a tribe. It was instead a combination of many tribes coming together and forming the Kingdom of Congo.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why you see there's two Congo there should be three actually, because Angola is part of Congo.
Right.
Gabon is part of Congo. Congo Brazzaville is Congo, and Congo Kinshasa is Congo. But now Congo is not a term, it's not a tribal term. It's a general term for the Bantu people,
where they migrated to. It's where everybody migrated to, and then started spreading out
spreading out south, west, and east, and everything, and everywhere.
Okay.
So Congo was like the home, like where everybody migrated to after the out of Egypt migration.
The center.
And yes. So that's why it's called the base of the truth, because that's where everything was kept.
Right.
Yes. I was talking to my mom yesterday actually about this, and we were just talking about my grandfather and how he passed, because my grandfather died at 105 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was born in 1905.
Wow.
And he died in 2007. So he's kind of my most right person, like my mentor, the person that I looked up to. And so growing up with him, I learned so much from him. And one thing that I learned for certain was he always talked about his grandfather. He was told us about how slavery traumatized his grandfather. Because his grandfather was born in the 1700s, around that area. So because his father died at 136.
Woo!
So my grandfather's father died at 136. He died in 1960 something, 61. And his grandfather died at 148. So in our family, we've always been lucky like that. We live long. My father used to say we live long.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sure whether I'll fall in the same line because I've moved far away from home. I'm eating junk food. I'm living a not very healthy life. I haven't had traditional food in like 6 years.
Right.
So I guess I might not be able to fall in the same footsteps of
right.
moving long. But what what I'm trying to say is my great grandfather, like my great great grandfather, which is my grandfather's grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke a lot about, because he was there during slavery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He spoke to my grandfather about the trauma him and his mom went through, because they took away his father.
Wow.
And his 6 other brothers.
Wow.
They packed, because him and his mother went to go to the farm, left home that day. They obviously Europeans came and they took everyone that was home. That included his 6 brothers and his father.
Wow.
And took also as well 3 sisters with them. And obviously most of the neighboring people were taken. So everyone that was in the village at that time, back in the 1700s, was taken. And the only surviving people were the ones who were out of the area, who maybe might have gone to see a friend, or who might have been out in the farm, or so forth. So my grandfather speaks about the trauma that he grew up without a father, because he was still very young.
Right.
And the fact that his father was never there, and he was left alone with his mother. He was raised alone with his mother. He never got to see his brothers again, his sisters, and everyone else. And so when he had his own son, he apparently, according to my grandfather, my great great grandfather had many kids because he wanted to fill the gap. He wanted to
the void.
Yes. So to fill the void. So he had about 16 children of his own, and among them were 8 boys, and seven. I think it was about 8 other girls, and so. The same thing impacted my grandfather, my great grandfather, because he was born, because my great great grandfather was very insecure, so he didn't believe in life. He wasn't sure whether someone is gonna take away his kids, and the same thing happened again with his children.
Wow.
Because my great grandfather was born in the way before slavery was abolished. About, I think it was in 1835. So before slavery was abolished, they took 6 of his children among the 16.
Wow.
So the only one that survived are the ones that obviously they were not in the town for the day, and had gone out for different reasons. And my grandfather was part of that, the surviving. I mean, the remaining people.
Wow.
But again, the trauma didn't really held on them very long. Until they lived long, which is surprising considering everything they went through.
Right.
But my grandfather always talked about one day our people coming back home. I mean, I don't even know who they are,
Right,
it could be anybody.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because see, we've been scattered to the 4 corners of the earth.
Exactly.
So all our brothers and sisters will be coming back into the land. And it looked like the way things are going, it might be quicker than what we think.
Might be definitely, yeah. From what I'm seeing, things, the awakening is so much high at the moment.
Now, Batu, how do you spell that? So that means what? White person, Batu.
Sorry.
The word Batu, Batu means white person. What do y'all call
white people?
Yeah.
I mean, in Lingala we call them Mundele.
Mundele, okay.
Yeah, Mundele, which is like M-U. M-U-N-D-E.
D.
L-E.
Mundele. Mundele.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mundele. Now Mundele comes from the word evil.
Evil, right? Okay.
So when the white people came into Africa, we saw them as obviously as strange people, an evil people because of their ways of life.
Right.
That's why we call them Mundele.
Uh-huh.
In Swahili, they call them Mzungu.
And Zungu.
Mzungu, which is like MUZU.
MU.
MU.
Uh-huh. Z.
ZU, yeah. And GU. G for gone.
Oh, you said G.
Yeah. GU. Yeah. Mzungu.
Mzungu. Okay, got it.
Yes.
And that's you said
so
that's Lingala. You said that's Lingala.
That's Swahili. Lingala is Mundele. Yeah.
Mundele. Okay.
Mundele. Yeah. Swahili is Mzungu. Now these two words, if you pay attention, if you pay close attention to them, Mzungu is not too far from the word from the word Mzungu, Mlozi, Nzuji, which like in Swahili, all these words means evil spirit.
Evil spirits, okay.
Or an evil being or a strange being, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So Mzungu also means somebody that's not black.
Right.
Yeah, because according to our ancestors, black was the original color.
Right.
Yeah, so anything other is Mzungu.
Mzungu, okay.
Yeah, which is not. According to my ancestors, it meant they are not humans, basically.
Right.
That's why they were called Mzungu. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm telling you, sometimes you be like, boy, y'all know y'all ain't human. The way y'all act, sometimes you're not human.
I know. Yeah. So you find many other words. Now the funny part in the Swahili word is that Mzungu means white person, but Mungu for MUNGENEN, so MUNGU, it means God, like
Mungu.
The Most High, Mungu.
Mungu, right. I know that was one of the words in
that Leopold too. Yeah.
And Zambi.
Zambi, yeah. Zambi is Congo.
Yeah, and Sonini Nanini Zulu.
Yeah, Sonini Nanini is Shona and Kos, I think Kos.
Yeah.
Now,
wow.
The funny bit, if you look closely into the word Mungu, is not too far apart from the word Mzungu. Mungu and Mzungu. Mungu, which is God, Mzungu, which is evil or white person. It's literally telling you, but if you understand the two words, it is telling you that the Mungu is the creator, but Mzungu is the opposite of the creator, so the devil. Yeah, that's why you have Mungu there and you have Mzungu. They look alike, but one is a fake, one is a real. One is God, and one which is the Most High, that's Nzambi, and the other one is the opposition party, like the person, the people, the spirit against the Most High's plan, against the Most High. That's why so Mzungu has many explanations if you look spiritually into it. Yeah.
Wow.
And so in Kikongo we say Nzambi. A lot of people think Nzambi means zombie and monsters and all that kind of things.
Right.
But the word zombie I'm sure the word zombie was probably picked up from Zambi in a way to just blaspheme, to demonize and to demonize the people, the people of Zambia, of the Most High. And so they made movies about zombies, making us look like we are the dead people. Obviously, they've killed us in a way they want. They've destroyed everything that we had and believed in, and they made us the slaves, and they can do whatever they want. So we are now just zombie, walking dead,
right?
Nothing else to offer. So it's a blasphemy if you think about it.
Right. And it's funny you say that.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because if you look at the British flag, we know our flag had the X. But when you look at the British flag, they put the cross in between the X.
The X.
When they conquered the Congo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they did. And if you everything has meaning. If you look at the flags, everything they did, everything the colonizer and the enslavers did into Africa was not just physical. It was all spiritually prepared.
Yes.
Because the devil, I mean, let's agree, the devil is just as spiritual as God is. You know, he used spiritual metaphors to enjoy, to give back to whatever plan he had of his, in his mind. Right. So you find that all of those things, all the naming that was changed, why they changed all the names of every town and every river and every waterfall, it was all for the purpose of hiding the truth, of covering the tracks.
Who we truly are, the children
who
of the
we
Most
truly
High.
are.
Right.
Yep.
Now how was that part presented to you when you was young, being that you was in the land and
raised in Congo?
Has it been passed down that who we truly are?
I can be honest with you. Even being born in Congo, I was just as miseducated as the brothers and sisters in America.
Right.
About Congo, because I went to school. I think I don't know if you follow my my posts a lot. I talk about the miseducation a lot, because growing up, we had the same problem where the schools. The problem is that we had independence, but we didn't have the only independence we have was in words and on paper.
Right.
But everything that was before colonial era
was manipulated
everything
to fit their narrative, right?
Yes,
same thing
everything
here
that
in
was
America, right?
Yes. So everything that was during colonial era is everything that remained. And then when you change the name, you change the terms to make you think that you are free, that you making your own decisions. But the truth is, we're just trapped. Yeah. And so growing up in school, I was surprised that one of my teachers actually once taught me that we were monkeys, that black people were monkeys. This is a black teacher in a black school in the middle of Africa. He's telling the children that they were monkeys before they became humans.
Wow.
And he's telling us that the white people are the upgrade of us. This is a black teacher. Inspiration.
But you see that programming that they did on him. It's the same way with the colleges here in the United States, to shape them to think in their way of having their way of thinking. I'm not saying that college is bad, but a lot of it is to draw us away from
from who we truly are.
Right, to who you truly are, and have you thinking and having the mindset that they have. So that's when you start seeing other blacks turning on their own people, because they have westernized mindset.
Yes. That exactly. And so we were brought up in that system. I did 12 years of primary school, high school, and I can swear to you that the only time I learned about Congo was probably in the 12 years, or probably a couple of weeks out of the 12 years of school.
You living in the land.
Yeah. I was born in the land, grew up in the land, you know. But the only time I was taught about Congo was probably I think it was in year 10, I think.
Mhm.
And that was like just roughly, you know, like going on the surface, like through the like it wasn't really, it
Right.
wasn't thorough, yeah.
Well, look, it's
And
like
so,
it's almost the same way here in the States, where they have February,
yes,
which is the shortest month for Black History
yeah,
Month. Just a
exactly.
right, that's similar.
1 month in a year.
Right. Yeah.
So you get to learn about who you are only 1 month in a year. So the 11 years are for them.
Right. And
After
then,
the programming.
then
And
here they won't go past slavery. Everything stops at
exactly.
slavery.
I was just about to say that. Even in that 1 month, they won't
Right.
teach you the actual truth. They will teach you the only truth that makes them comfortable.
Right.
So they won't go back before. Even in Africa, they don't, even the history that we learn, they won't go back. They won't go past slavery. So they teach a bit of slavery about, and then even the part that they teach about slavery, they're telling us that we were just in the bush. We didn't know nothing.
Right.
We didn't even know how to dress up, how to be human. And these people came and they saved us. This is a school system in the middle of Africa.
Right.
Children are born inspired to believe that they were less than humans, because from kindergarten all the way to high school,
Right.
you've been told that you were discovered by someone else.
Programming, conditioning.
Conditioned. And so by the time you're 18, you don't even know who you are.
Woo.
You don't even have a relationship with yourself.
Right.
And all that inspires you is the other side. And that's why Africa never developed, because everybody in Africa dreams of going out of Africa. Because, to West.
To the West.
Because the school systems we learn more about Alexander the Great. We learn more about Christophe Colomb. We learn more about all these other people than we actually learn about Lumumba.
same exact thing here. So due to our ancestors' rebellion, we was taken from off of the continent and scattered through the four corners. But where y'all was colonized right there on the land. Wow. And
we went through.
That's like baffling to the point where they did so much damage to our people. Only the Most High Tata Manzambi is able to deliver out and free our mindset to shift. So now that's why, this awakening is connecting me, who's in the diaspora, with you that's over in the land, to communicate with one another, to connect with one another. And I'm telling you, man, it's such a privilege to sit and speak to a brother who actually
it is a privilege for me too.
And then when I mentioned Katanga, then you started rattling off when you sent me back to text. I was like, wow, because I was like, well, I don't know nobody that lives near there or anything about it, but the Most High is so merciful and so graceful, because when He gave it to me, where I come from, and I'm like, wow, because originally, I was adopted. My biological parents are Congo. My grandmother, just like you were saying, my biological grandmother, I met her one time, and she lived to be 101. And she was from North Carolina. So when you was talking about the longevity of life, how some of your ancestors lived to 148 now, 105 years old, I was like, wow.
105,
And she lived to be 101, but she snorted snuff and smoked weed. I think that's what program their life a little bit longer.
Oh yeah, yeah. So my grandfather would ride a bike when he was 100 years old. He would still ride his bicycle, which is funny. Like we used to brag about that growing up, and it was just a thing to just laugh at, like how he didn't hold a stick until he was 103. That's when he started walking on a stick, and we laugh about that, which is kind of a joke. So I'm actually working on a children's story about my grandfather and his stick, which is quite of an inspiration of mine. So I'm still developing the story, the book a bit, because I need to I might one day maybe use you to for an opinion, like
sure. Man, look,
you can read and let me know how you think.
I'm gonna give you my number and everything, man. Anytime you want to, I give you my number, my email address, anytime, man. Because this is such a privilege and an honor, man.
So, it is an honor for me personally, because this is what my grandfather spoke about. He spoke about when he wasn't really talking about his own family. He was talking about our people.
Right.
When we one day will connect with our people, we'll be able to come back home. We'll be able to come back together
because we are that fourth generation.
Yes, we are that generation, and so now the funny thing that you have to understand with the truth is that when the colonizer came to Africa, because it was they divided Africa among themselves, like Joel says, among themselves, and they separated each part for each person, but Congo wasn't given to anybody because it was just too wealthy, and there was just too much history, too much things that they needed cover up. So it was instead left for all of Europe but supervised by the King of Belgium,
Leopold
too. So it was so the whole of Europe benefited from that. And now I was talking to when I told her I was talking to my mom. We're talking about this because from my mom's side, they are family of royalty of the kingship of. So from my mom's father, her grandfather, about 8 generations before that, it was all royalty until when my grandfather was killed by the Belgians.
Wow.
So but before they killed my grandfather, my great grandfather, who is my mom's grandfather, he resisted colonialism. Because he was a king at the time in a place called Idri. And then what they told him to keep the truth. What they were telling him to do, they were preventing him from telling people what the people need to know. So they beat him up about, I think my mom spoke about 300 feet, like 300 they whip him for like I think 300 times on his stomach, and he never survived that. He died of the internal blood bleeding.
Wow.
That's my mom's grandfather, and this was because he was speaking to the people about the truth.
Right.
He was telling them that you people are God's people. You don't need anybody coming from nowhere telling you who you should be, or which God you should pray to. So he was beaten to death.
Because
yes.
Because I have the letter right here. It's the letter from King Leopold II, the Belgium of colonial missionary, 1883.
Yes.
The sentence that says here, your principal objective and our missionary in the Congo.
Yes. Never.
To know God. This they know already.
Or they know already. The ancestors
They and submit to Mongol
Yes.
Manzambi.
Nzambi, yeah.
Mungu.
So those are the two, yeah. Mungu and Nzambi.
Right.
So Mungu is the Swahili, Nzambi is the Kikongo.
Congo.
Or Nzambe in Lingala. So it's the same thing. So these people knew who we were.
Right.
When they were sent down into Congo, they knew exactly who they were coming to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So they were prepared ahead. They were told, admit yourself, you're not going there to teach these people about God. Because they already know him. Their ancestors already worked with him. But you are going there to use the truth for our own advantage.
Right.
For our own interest. And that's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was, for the 80 years that Belgium was colonizing Congo, they made sure that they took every artifact, every book, so anything that was done prior to them coming, they made sure that they took it all away. Yeah. So they went to like clan leaders and tribal leaders and kings and made sure that they defeated kings.
Mm-hmm.
And stole everything that is, because these kings held so much history.
Right.
My grandfather from my dad's side said something about how parents were deprived was deprived from speaking to their children about the truth.
So that pretty much,
yeah.
when you say that, this is the reason why because they had to hide who we were. So they didn't speak openly to the children to let them know that, yes, you are the children of the book. So that way they kept it suppressed and they didn't teach it to the younger ones.
They didn't teach that. So my great grandfather knew who we were, but he didn't tell my grandfather. He didn't tell him straightforward. He told him only in parables, and used different words to show him who we are, but he didn't actually tell him the truth. Mm-hmm. And the reason to this is because during that time, if you knew the truth,
they kill you.
You were hanged. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whether you are a king, whether you are parent, normal person, whether you are mother, father, you were hanged. So now parents were fearful of their children. You know how children are. If you tell a child the truth, something, a secret, they go out there and tell everybody.
Right.
So what they had to do, they had to suppress that part of the truth.
Right.
In order to protect their children.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And so my grandfather spoke up as well. He tried, and I was very curious growing up, and we all had this conversation, this argument, and I always asked him questions, and he would be like, he would just tell me things. He would use the same method. He couldn't tell me that we were Israelites. He would just say, we are God's people. We, from our ancestors and everyone, we are God's people. You have to remember that. You have to remember that God is with you and he never left you.
Wow.
So growing up, it was a thing. I mean, I didn't really, because first of all, I was actually born a Muslim.
Okay. Okay.
My father converted into Islam when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't, and then later on, I came out of Islam personally with some of my brothers and converted to Christianity. Mm-hmm. And this was through one of the pastors who was preaching a lot of truth about Revelation and Jeremiah. And so he came to me and I just couldn't keep, and he spoke a lot about Quran. So I left the religion and became a Christian for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But even in Christianity, I never felt like I was in the right place. My spirit just kept searching for more, kept looking for the truth. Like it felt like I was still stuck somewhere. Something wasn't right.
Right.
Until one day I just decided that, until I came across a few other books. One day, I would lie to you if I say that God spoke to me. I mean, I don't usually have, I don't dream of like other people. Mm-hmm. I think the Most High speaks to me mostly through subconscious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So usually I'll feel uneasy. I would struggle. I would have a lot of pain. I would feel unhappy. That's because the Most High is speaking through me, and I'm being resistant about it, and I'm denying myself the fact that it's actually there. So most of the time, that's what happens to me. It's all in the subconscious. But me coming out of the church, it was the same thing. I was for like about a year or two. I was just sitting there. Every time I stand up and I look at the cross, and I'm like, there's something about that just doesn't add up with me.
Right.
You know, and then my grandfather used to say something about our ancestors were not burdened with cross. We didn't know no cross.
Right.
The cross was brought to us.
Right.
It was a symbol of a curse.
Right.
So anybody that died, that they killed, they burdened him with the cross to make sure that this person was cursed by us. We defeated this person.
I never looked at it like that. I never looked at that like that.
Oh yeah, it's a sign. It's a mark. Like they put a mark on you. They mark you. They cross you because they've actually defeated you.
The same exact thing with that British flag. Ours with the X with the cross.
Yes.
Crossed it out.
Yeah. Crossed out. So that's what he was at the beginning. Because I mean I remember growing up and I would go to my ancestors' graves because we had in a village we had a huge land. We have a huge land and we bury our ancestors right. So we have a space where we bury all our ancestors, just like Abraham did bought a land and he asked his son to bury him when he dies. Our ancestors did the same thing. They buy a land. They have a small spot at the back where they bury. We have there's 6 or 7 graves of ancestors that are there, and none of them has a cross.
Right.
Yeah, but all of them believe in Mungu. You know, they believe in Zambi. They believe in a divine authority. You know, the Bantu are the only people in Africa who actually believe in one or in a unique God.
Yes.
Yeah. We are very monotheistic. We respect our ancestors in a way that the fact that we are walking their path.
Right.
But we do not really look at them as gods or as divinity or as people that can help us.
Right.
Because the only thing they've done is birth us. That's their part in the story. They've given birth to us, and now it's up to us to give back to more and obviously inspire the generation that comes after us. Right. And so, growing up, all this was kept. This was all this truth. I was circumcised when I was 8 months old. 8 days old. I think it was 8 days or 8 weeks. So I didn't really. I never understood why we were circumcised. No, it wasn't because I was in any religion. It wasn't because of anything. Whichever, it was it's just a traditional thing.
Right.
You know, and so I remember asking my grandfather, why do boys get circumcised? And even he said, it's just our way of life. Right. We have to circumcise boys. Right. I was like, but that doesn't make sense. Why? Why though? Right. So, yeah. He wouldn't tell me that because he knew circumcision is a big part in the in the kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
You know, it is a huge part, and if you know why you circumcised, you will know who you were. Yeah. So I didn't know that, but if you go to Congo, every Bantu tribe circumcise their child at either the earliest 6 days, 8 days, or between 8 days and 8 months. They all circumcise. But the Nilotes do not do circumcision. We are the only people who actually do circumcision, not as a religion, but because it's our culture.
Right.
Yeah, because it's our cultural heritage.
And even in the States, that me being here in the diaspora, I was circumcised. So it's still
somehow.
Right. Right.
You held on to that. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed a lot of African American were also circumcised because it's something that they were passed down to. They were not told why they were doing it,
right?
But they were just doing it.
Right.
But like the Most High said, we'll forget who we are. We won't remember who we are until He open our eyes again.
Yeah.
And remind us of who we are. And we have all these signs around us that telling us who we really are, but it just takes Him alone to actually show you who you are.
Right.
Because I mean, there are signs everywhere. You know, whether it's the languages we speak, they're very. I mean, they're just a lot Hebrew in there. Like not just a lot, but it's full Hebrew in our languages.
Right.
I mean, our culture, whether it's marriage, like you know, the dowry part, like you know, the bride price, and all these little things that happen during, you know, if you read all the children of Israel, how they're getting married. It's the same thing we still do in our culture. We are the only people that actually takes dowry, like takes bride price to the bride's house, the bride father. Pay bride price to the bride father. And so we still also do like when a child is born, naming the child is the same way the children of Abraham did. You know, we don't name our children according to I mean, I know that we've been influenced by the Western, where we now start naming our children in English and French and all that.
Our names had meaning.
Yes, our name and funny things. Our names were mostly related, like they had they were based on circumstances.
Right.
Which is pretty much the biblical way, because Jacob named his son Benjamin according to his circumstance when his wife died. So Benjamin doesn't actually mean anything. But if you come to the original language that Benjamin was taken from, which the Bible tells us why Jacob named his son Benjamin, it's telling you that he was named Benjamin because his mother, who was the biggest love of Jacob's life, the last love of Jacob's life, died. In our Bantu traditions, every Bantu tradition has a name for a child who is born when the mother dies, and it's not Benjamin. You know, it's not Benjamin. You know, some call them Kasiwa, some call them Kasia, some call them Kashua, some call them different other names, but it's always the same, and it's supposed to be the name of a child whose mother just has passed, has passed at birth.
Right.
Like Benjamin was born, his mother died, you know, on his birth. But now, if you look at all the other traditions of the world, they don't have anything like that.
No.
They just have these names. You know, these names are there. They just have names. But even if you ask them what John means, they won't even tell you.
You're right.
If you ask them what Patrick means, they started coming up with all this, but they won't really know. And now, as taking on those names, it doesn't help us. It only make us more slave to those spirits. I mean, those names,
right?
Which we don't know where the names came from.
Yep.
And that's why because when I was born, my name was in my Yahunde was among my names, but it wasn't my most used name. My common name that I was known for was for a French name, Jean-Michel.
Okay.
Until 2 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, I decided to get rid of all the colonial names on my name, on my ID, and I applied for a change of name certificate, and I just cleared everything, and my name is Yahunde Batakane, which is like, to me, that means so much. It means so much in this awakening.
Yes.
In the spiritual realm, in the physical, it's so powerful.
Yes.
You know, The same way Abraham was renamed, the same way Jacob was named Yisolele. It's the reason why we have to get rid of all these colonial names, these names that we were given by the people who enslaved us.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and before we do that, I mean, until we do that, we still tied to these people spiritually. Because, I mean, the Most High said, my people who are called by my name. What does that mean? We are with the Most High's people. We are his people because we are called by his name.
Yes. The
minute you are called by someone's name, you become that person's people. Yes. That was the psychological reason why in Africa and even in America, the colonizer made sure that we change our names.
Right.
That we adopt theirs so that we become, we become a psychological slave to them.
Yes. That we conquered you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Same way with that British flag. Same exact thing with that British flag. With that cross.
The cross, yes.
We conquered you.
The same meaning. We conquered you, yes. The same meaning. But now we have all that. I mean, we have so many names in our culture, but it's funny. I've seen even Congolese people who don't even have a Congolese name. Right. Both their names are English or French. Because of the school system. The school system shows you that being called Batakane, being called Makaya or Yahunde, it's out of fashion. It's archaic. It's not on trend. It's not a good thing. It's not civilized.
Right.
And so children are born in Congo. By the time some of them are even offered traditional names, cultural names, but when they go to school, they change those names into English names or French names themselves. Wow. Some parents will tell you, I don't want to name my kid Yahunde. That's too primitive,
Well, that's almost the same thing here in the States.
Of course it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course it is. We're the same people, and they use the same mechanism they use in America. They use it the same thing in Africa.
Same thing. Same direction.
Yeah. And so when I saw you when I looked at your name on Facebook, it was just, to me, it was a lot of pride. Manzambi. It just felt like, yeah, this is what I want to. I want to see more of this.
Yeah,
more of this kind of pride.
Yes.
Getting
because when when I came into this walk, with me, a little bit about me. I was in the apostolic church here in the States, come from a big ministry, and it just something just wasn't right. I'm like, been in ministry, been an elder, had my own, me and my wife had our own ministry and stuff like that. But one particular day, I was sitting in my bed in 2015, sitting in my bedroom, and I was praying. And all of a sudden it came to me, what did the Israelites look like? And from that point on, man, I started searching and looking. Then I started looking at that they look like me. So I got to searching even more. And there was a pastor friend who I knew at the time, and we was helping him in his ministry and everything. And I was like, look at all this information that I got. He didn't even want to look at it. I had printed out a whole bunch of stuff that showed that we are the people of the book. So, I went through the phase with the Hebrew Israelites, and I said something, but one day we was in one ministry, and it just to the point where we just didn't feel the love. You know, it was like kind of cold. And I'm like, you know, we supposed to be brothers and we supposed to be together, but it was like standoffish. And so, you know, I stayed there and I studied, you know, stayed there for about a year or two and got to studying. And then it got to the point where I was listening to, I was on YouTube and I saw Yahunde, and you know, I brushed past his. I clicked on his page, clicked on this thing, and then he was talking. I'm like, and moved on. But the Mwandan said, no, go back, listen to him. And man, I've been listening to Yahunde since 2015, man. So, you know, our Hebrew brothers, you know, it was a thing that his name was Yahweh and Yeshua, but you had to understand, okay, we were enslaved. When we was enslaved, we came out of Africa. This is how the Most High have brought me to understand this Bantu, this Bantu heritage, this Bantu awakening. Whereas though some of my Hebrew, and I tried to even tell some of my Hebrew brothers, man, and it was like, you know, they still stuck on the Yiddish. And I'm like, it just didn't feel right to me. But when I was learning from Yahunde and he got to talking about the Bantu, and even though I did my DNA stuff and everything, and I figured, you know, I knew I was Bantu through that, but I never knew what was behind the Bantu. So when I started listening to Yahunde, and I was like, wow, I said, there's something to this. And then I said, so the Nsemi had put in my Mwanda and said, he gave me Jeremiah 6:16. Follow the old path, and once you find it, stay therein. So he allowed me to see we must travel back the old path, the way that we left the land, and travel back the same path the way that we left. So that old path through the Bantu of who we are. And that's what awoke me. And I was like, I got it. I said, I got it. I understand it. This is our heritage. If the Tata Manzambi, if Messiah Kongo looked like us, then he wasn't speaking no Yiddish. But
of course they didn't.
So it was like he was saying, it's like, okay, it's levels to this. Okay, and it took you through the Christianity. I brought you through the Hebrew Israelite. Now I'm taking you to another level to where this is who you are. Because we were deceived through the Hebrew, which we never was called Hebrew. We was called Hebrew or Hebrew.
Nah, Hebrew is even a derivative word.
It's it's a European word. So instead of using an Israelite, we are Bantu.
Bantu Yisolele. Yeah.
Yisolele. So
if you look at Bantu, it's the same. Yeah.
Right. And I was like, so I tried to tell a friend of mine, I said, look, just listen. He didn't want to listen. I've been teaching and been learning Hebrew for 40 years. And I'm like, look, brother, sometimes we can grow, but when we have that mindset that we can't listen, that mindset, closed-mindedness, it's Yahweh and it's Yeshua, it's this and this. But I said, okay, I tell you what. I'm going to listen to my brothers who've been in the land, who never left the land. I'm going to take their word over the Yiddish, over the Hebrew Israelites.
Oh yeah,
that's. And I said, you know, then when Pastor Mello came on the scene with the Kikongo, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so
And
much
I'm like,
powerful. It's
it was just powerful. And it's like, you just feel the joy. And Pastor Mello is the one, Pastor Mello and Messiah is the one that gave me my name, because in the beginning I had Yiddish name, Doran Yedidiah. That was my
yeah,
name. And then when I was like,
yeah.
I'm Bantu, I'm like, nah,
You
I'm like,
spell
give me the meaning
this.
of my names, which Manzambi,
Oh,
beloved of Yah,
beautiful name.
and
Yeah, beautiful
Makayilu
name.
is gift, means gift. So I'm like,
Wow.
I'm
Yes, of
going.
course.
I was like, I had to move on, and they stopped talk. Some of them stopped talking to me, stopped calling me, but hey, I'm on the right path. Batakane Zombie has showed me his temple, and I'm not turning back. I'm looking forward to that time that he tells us it's time to leave the diaspora, to head back home.
Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about like how you were spiritually led into with the naming and the language part, I wasn't necessarily, I mean, even being born from the land, I had an influence at some point. I felt like Yiddish was language, but after digging into it a little bit, I felt like it's too old.
Mm-hmm.
We never sounded like that.
Right. With the
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I can't get this, But when the Kikongo, it fits right in place,
Yes,
man.
yes,
Harmony. It's like it's like a song, the rhythm. The rhythm is
yes,
smooth.
yes. It is smooth. The same thing for all the Bantu languages. They're just easily sport. Like you can literally connect to the language.
Mm-hmm.
And with the problem with the youth, that's the other part I was trying to tell you about my grandmother my mom, when she was telling me about her family and how the royals, like the chiefs and like the clan leaders were being persecuted and killed and hanged. Like, I remember one of the king of my village from the Yahunde, he was actually head chopped, and the head was hanged in the village, like outside his palace,
Right.
for everybody that walks down to see. And now this is about, I think this was between 1920 to 1930. And now just look at how convenient it is. Right after they've done all that, they've wiped all the history, they've wiped all the facts. Then in 1948, they create a state of Israel.
Right.
Right after they've colonized, they've enslaved, they've destroyed every evidence that's in the area. They've renamed every place, and now here we come. This is Israel. How convenient.
And look, in 1948, not 2,000
Yes.
years ago,
No,
1948.
1948. How convenient.
Right. The Balfour
It's
Declaration.
yes.
Rothschilds purchased the land of Palestine, where they at now. Rothschilds purchased that land for
Exactly.
the state of Israel.
Yeah, exactly. You see that? And then the funny thing, when they were categorizing the linguistics of like African linguistics, they put Niger Congo, and then they put Bantu separate, like as a subgroup of the Niger Congo. But they really like they worked so much on the Bantu language. They spent so many time just trying to really justify the narrative of the Bantu language, and they somehow they put us out of the Semitic languages and had themselves as the Semitic.
Right. Right.
And then they and then if you listen to someone's a Bantu people speaking, you can, I mean, the pure Arabic is not too far from there. You know, Arabic, which is a Semitic language. I mean, except if you remove the tone, you know, the ka thing,
Right.
it's not too far apart. The wording are not too far apart. Like that's why most people tend to think the Swahili is Arabic, but Swahili is actually a Bantu language, but has a lot of words which most of Arab use as well. But the same goes for Kikongo is actually the mother language of all of that.
Yes.
Of all the Semitic languages, all the Bantu language, so to speak. The same word Bantu, as we were talking about, Isolele. You know, Bantu means people. A people. There's a reason why we called ourselves Bantu. We didn't. You can't just say, okay, now we Bantu. I mean, because Bantu means people, but you can't just specify a different kind of people. There's gotta be a reason why these people are called Bantu. They're called people. And if you read throughout the Bible, through the Old Testament, every time the Most High was talking about my people, the word people comes so many times in the Bible. People, my people, they people, they people, my people, the people of Israel, my people, my people. It's the same word, Bantu, 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 Bantu.
Right.
All they had to do was change the terminology, or make it look like it's a Bantu, and there's that, and it's not actually the Israel.
Right.
But every time they describe the children of Ham, they don't have Bantu in there.
No.
They have everyone else in the children of Ham, but the Bantu they're not mentioned. Right. And yet they say all Africans are Hamites, are the descendant of Ham.
Right, and that's not true. And see,
exactly.
this is what a lot of people here in the diaspora think, that everybody in Africa is the same. No, it's not.
No, we're not.
And
no,
it's like they don't want to. It's like some of them don't even want to listen. But to me, I say it's very disrespectful for us in the diaspora to tell you all who are lived in the land, ancestors, some have never left. He always left a remnant, even when we went into other captivities. The Most High Manzambi always left a remnant back. And y'all are that remnant that's still on the land. And how are we to tell y'all that you are wrong about the history, about who you are?
Who you were. Exactly. It's just a lot of it's a lot of confusion, a lot of I guess a lot of burgers. People just want to claim the truth that they don't really have, and so they make up anything to make themselves feel better. And I remember this narrative was created because they had to include Hispanic in the kingdom. They had to include Native Americans in the kingdom. They had to include Aboriginal Australians. They had to include everybody, even Middle Easterners. Some of them are in there. Japanese. Everybody is in the kingdom, in the 12 tribes.
That westernized mind of thinking.
Yes.
Instead
they still need a white person in there.
Instead, like I told the brother, I said, I tell you what, I'm going to go with my Bantu brothers who's giving me the history, teaching me the history of who we are. And you can stay with the Yiddish. Okay, that's on you. But I'm going to listen to my... Yeah. I'm not listening to those who don't look like me. Because most of those that's living in the fake land of Israel, anyway, if you ask them, where do your parents come from? Some of them will tell you Poland, Russia,
German,
Turkey, Germany, Romania, all of those areas in European areas. None that will say that we are bloodline descendants, because they already know the truth.
They don't know. Of course, they because they don't even have a history of ever being in Egypt.
Never.
They don't have a history of ever living in Ethiopia, Egypt, or anywhere around that area until 1948.
48.
Yeah, but we have
before they went to that land. What they looking at? Was it Uganda?
Yes. Oh yeah. The other option was Uganda, East Africa, like Uganda, Eastern Congo.
So they looked at it and said, okay, well, this ain't gonna work. We right here.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna look.
This ain't gonna work.
Right.
Apparently, they're still working on that Uganda plan. The Uganda Eastern Congo part, because so that's what I was telling you about. They're still trying to save that area, that land, because that's the Garden of Eden. That's the Eastern Uganda, the Western Uganda, Eastern Congo, and Burundi, Rwanda. Those countries are where the Garden of Eden. That's where the oldest human bone was discovered. That's where civilization emerged from. And so they're still looking into up to now. All the wars that are taking place in Eastern Congo is all orchestrated by them to be able to own this part of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they can take all the artifacts. Right.
Yes. It's still going on up to now, and we have the Kagame, who is the president of Rwanda, who is the person that they use to destabilize this area in order to keep it in the position. So I don't know if you've ever heard Congolese talking about Balkanization. It's a plan that has been structured way before the state of Israel was stored. They wanted Congo in 1960. They were planning to divide Congo, like to have Katanga and Kivu as a different country, because they wanted to settle there. Even in 1960, that's why they gave this guy, I forget his name, this Congolese rebel from Katanga. They gave him it's called Katanga session, like where the Katange people, they wanted to cut out of Congo.
Right.
So Katanga, Kivu, they wanted to, after Independence Day, Lumumba wanted all of Congo to be united, but the Katanga was the West gave Katanga money to be able to isolate themselves. Yes, because they knew if they isolate themselves, their plan would easily take place. But Lumumba was too strong. He requested the help of the president of Cuba and a few other countries. They helped him, and they were able to restore Congo all back together.
Wow.
Now the simple word, the simple Cuba word. When people say Cuba, I'm always looking at them like people say, "Oh, Cuba is just a Spanish, Portuguese word." No, Cuba is a Congolese word.
Right.
In Congo, we had a tribe called Cuba. These are this Cuba. Obviously, people who studied Cuba must have been descendant of the Cuba kingdom in Congo. Because we have the Bakuba, which is Bakuba, where they come from. The Bakuba. You spell it with a C, but in Congo they spell it with a K. Cuba. Yeah. Yeah. And so the same people during all that period of time, they were planning on settling in that area, like the Cuba area, the Congo, the eastern part of Congo, the Katanga. Mainly Katanga was like the capital of this land. It was where they were planning to set the capital of the new country that was being designed. But the miraculous part about this is that the Belgians owned Congo for 80 years. They would have just easily say, we're going to decide and Congo is going to divide. But they didn't. There's a spiritual resistance that was there that kept them from actually, because when they were ruling Congo, they had all the power because they renamed everything the way they wanted. Kinshasa was Leopoldville. Katanga was Stanleyville. Stanleyville. Like all the other places had European names. So these people could, if they really wanted to divide Congo, I mean, they really did, I'm sure, but it was just so hard for them because the funny thing about the Congolese tribes is they were so united. Whether it's from Katanga, whether it's from Kinshasa, whether it's from Goma, whether it's from Boma, there was some kind of connection between these tribes. In a way, even if they wanted this tribe to, it was hard because they would go behind those people. Okay, we've been paid to fight you.
Right.
So just make sure, watch out.
Right.
And so even when they ruled Congo, they could not really control the whole country. And so after they've left, they still try to divide Katanga, separate Katanga from the rest of Congo. And this was all the plan of the Rothschilds to create this part for their so-called Jewish people.
Right. Wow.
And when that failed, that's when they settled in Middle East. So-called Middle East, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we're still the same people, and we're the only people who have lived in Egypt. We're the only people who have lived in Middle East, so-called Middle East. We're the only people who, some of us have even lived in Europe.
Right.
You know, we because we were enslaved in many different areas in Rome, in we have all this in our history.
Yes.
You know, all this migration history.
Right.
But now the problem is someone coming out of nowhere and it's just coming. And obviously, I respect my African American family because we went through the same thing, and we're the same people, but we've been programmed to speak against each other. But
right.
The problem is most of the African American, even Africans, speak against African Americans. The problem here is miseducation.
Right.
The African American has been told that, well,
we hated y'all, y'all hated us, and we hated
these people sold you.
Right.
Yeah, these people sold you.
Right. That's because that's because we thinking everybody is African in Africa.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And the problem is, even in West Africa, before slavery, there were a lot of Bantu people in those areas.
Yep.
So I mean, it's even called Bantu homeland.
Negro land.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah, Negro. It's called. It's all the Nigeria, Southern Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana. It's in the European record, it said that's where the Bantu came from. And this is prior to slavery. Now, where are the Bantus now who were living in those areas?
Pushed down.
They're all shipped. Yeah. They're all shipped to the Americas.
Right.
And this is the same people. And now the problem is when you don't understand that, you think that, well, and that's where most of the African American are coming to theory saying, oh, America is Egypt, and all these other theories are happening, are coming on, and some people are saying we've never actually been to Africa, we've always been here.
Right.
But I have a record of my grandfather telling me about his people were taken. Maybe if the person who's telling you that they were always there, maybe they were always there. But there are people who were taken out of us.
That's right. That's correct.
And we didn't sell them.
Right.
They were forced out of us.
Right.
And that's part of history that most of the time is not taught in school, because the West is keep telling us. That's why every time they want to send like a military group, like a CIA thing into Africa, most of the time they pick African Americans. Because they want to create a conflict between these two people.
Right.
So every time we see African American, we're looking at people who are being used to oppress us.
Right.
And every time the African American look at us, they see a people that sold them into slavery. Right. so we never
both messed up.
Yeah, We all did, and we're all being used against each other still.
Right.
And until we realize that, we still never gonna really be united.
Right.
You know, and if the longer we hold on to this other Yiddish and this other you know, ideologies, you know, Eurocentric ideologies of who we are,
right,
we still just as divided as they want us to be.
That's right.
You know, and that's why I support anybody that says I want to learn Kikongo or I want to learn Swahili. It's regardless of which language you learn, whether it's Zulu, whether it's Kikongo, whether it's, because Zulu is actually very much Swahili. You know, like it's probably 70% Swahili.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why in Zulu, when you count 1 to 10 in Zulu and Swahili, it's pretty much the same thing. In Kikongo, you know, it's the same thing. You know, the moko miba in English, in Lingala, sorry, moko mibale misato. It's in Swahili moya mbili tatu. In Kikongo tatu is tatu. It's the same thing. You know, but the problem is we've been conditioned not to see that.
Right.
And so our people have to. My only prayer is that we become as awake as you are, and realize that, and go back to the source.
Right.
You know, the source of who we are.
Right.
Of where everything started.
Right.
Where we were taken from. You know, where everything was done against us. The truth that we knew was used to strip us out of who we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. It's really sad. Yeah.
And
it's empowering as well. It's empowering as well to know that you were out there and you were doing your effort. And if you ever wanna like visit Congo,
we're trying to do something. We're waiting on Messiah. They're supposed to put the trip together, like coming to Congo in June. So I guess they waiting to hear back from the people in the land, Congo, to give us what the prices and everything are. And so I think they were supposed to have been getting that done by the end of November, from what I was told. So but we was waiting on, you know, on the last final pricing of that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And COVID as well.
Yeah, because we supposed to be was Kinshasa. We supposed to be going to Kinshasa. Yes.
Oh, that's the capital city. Yeah,
capital city.
Yeah. Right. You would definitely love Lubumbashi. It's also beautiful.
Yes.
Lubumbashi, that's Katanga.
Katanga.
Yeah.
I was looking at some last night. I was looking at some YouTube stuff pertaining to Lubumbashi. Yeah.
Yes. Lubumbashi. It's a beautiful place. And it's cool. It's cool a lot. It's evergreen. It's beautiful. The landscape is fabulous. The town is also good. I mean, it's one of the biggest town in the Congo as well.
Yeah.
And it's pretty safe. I mean, from the most part, it's actually really good it's safe to visit.
What's the housing like there, on the pricing pertaining to apartments and renting houses and stuff like that? It varies.
Are you talking about like buying a house, or are you talking about just visiting an accommodation,
or looking to stay, the pricing on rental properties and stuff like that?
Renting. Yeah, well, for all I know is renting in Lubumbashi is a bit cheaper than Kinshasa. Yeah, and even house, like because I bought a land. I mean, I bought a land in Kinshasa 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I bought two hectares of land. 2 acres of land.
Yeah, and somebody was saying something like was it an acre or 2 acres cost like $2,000 or something like that? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I bought mine at 1,600.
Woo!
Yeah.
and that was 2 acres?
Yes.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good price.
Yeah. So yeah, it is. It is a very good, especially in the capital city. It is a good price.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit off the city, but it's
Right.
obviously it's land to for agriculture, for farming, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So and so there's other land you can find, like you can buy, in this areas of 2,000, 1 or 2 acres of land. You can even buy. Also, building a house in some part of Congo is also not that expensive if you want to.
Okay.
But the beauty, the important thing here is, if you wanna whether just go there, whether it's for a short stay, whether it's a long term, it's best to have a connection with somebody who is there, or who's from there, to guide you. Because I mean, like I said, the problem here is the miseducation.
Right.
Even people who are there, they might still exploit you. Like they
Right.
just as they might not really be as nice to you as they should be, because of the program. They assume you came from America, you probably have a lot of money.
Right.
You probably so much to offer. But if you go there and like if you walk in a town of Katanga with someone like maybe me or somebody else that's from there, you can easily find a hotel room for like a really affordable price. Like, yeah, probably like for $100 you could find like a few for like, I mean, renting. Where I remember, I have a house in Goma, and the person that lives in my house, they pay $100 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
$100 a month. So I mean, I don't really need that money. So usually I use it to renovate the house and help me save for the next maybe investment.
Right.
But it's pretty cheap if you live there. It's very affordable, and you could literally, like, imagine if you can pay 1 month for a house. You could also just easily pay a hotel will be just as cheap. You will get for the $100, you could pay for 1 week of stay or 2, possibly.
Oh, okay.
And so it's something that you have to, if you really want to go, maybe you can tell me early, so I can ask people in town who I know, who might be able to like tell me straight away. Whether if you're going to Kinshasa, I have my family in Kinshasa.
Okay.
I have my family in Katanga and some in Goma, which is like the border between Congo and Tanzania and Kenya, along the eastern side. So whichever part you want to go to, it's best you have people who understand the area, so they can be able to. Because I have a friend in Kinshasa who might be able to tell me how much will be, and he won't be talking as, I won't tell him that an African American is going.
Right.
I will speak to him as I might be going, or I have a friend in Kinshasa who's looking for a hotel. How much do you charge? And so we could even organize like way to get paid before you get there. And so when you come in, you just walk in. You don't tell them who you are. You don't have to if you don't want to.
Right.
But yeah, it's but just being there, you love it, because it's everybody's up is black.
Right.
The food. The food, the friendship, the people.
Right.
I mean, if you just stick around, like, everyone is nice, everyone is welcoming. If you ask for direction, people are just really good. I mean, I'm not saying that there are no crazy people, but the majority of people, the ordinary people, are there, and they're just really, the bunch of people in general are just really welcoming people and friendly people. Which is something I notice also with a lot of African Americans I speak to. They don't seem to be. I mean, they don't seem to be what we've been told they are.
Right.
They don't seem to be what we've been told they are.
Mm.
And I think if you go to I swear to you, if you go to Katanga right now or Goma, just no one will even know whether you are not from there, because you look like a lot of people that are sitting there.
You know what?
You know,
And that's one thing that really amazes me when I see our
yeah,
people in the land. They look just like us, so you can tell
yeah,
who is who.
yeah,
We
no,
look alike.
yes,
It blows your mind. Like, wow.
yeah. It's like the same person but different
Right.
different
Area.
area. And so if you go there, you just like if you don't say anything, no one would even know you're not from there. You just walk down the street and people will be like, hi, Jambo, Jambo, because that's Swahili for hi.
Uh-huh.
They just assume, because people are very friendly like that. They'll say hi to you, yeah, stuff like that. And so it's yeah, people will just assume you're from there
Right.
until when you start telling them where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. Every time I see African Americans, I'm like, this looks like my uncle.
Yeah,
This
right.
looks like my cousin.
Right.
This looks like, and they're
Right.
like, how do they believe today that they're not our people? Some of them
Right.
believe they're not.
Yes.
Yeah,
How
it's sad.
it's baffling. It is sad. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it is quite
Well,
sad.
brother, I ain't gonna hold you much longer. I know it's late where you are. And
Yes.
again,
Same.
this won't be the last that we get together. And next time we probably get together, get in the word and talk some more. And it's such a privilege. I just thank you for getting together and we chopping it up. And
Oh
thank
yeah,
you for
yeah.
the history, the rich history lesson. I know I have to get more and more of that. The culture and everything. Um, that's
Yes.
that that's truly.
And have this one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
It's it's everything. It's everything that the Most High want us to. It's everything our ancestors would have wanted us to be.
They do.
And so
Right.
it's my privilege just as it is yours.
Yes.
And hopefully we can talk more. Maybe in the future, organize another time,
Yes.
and maybe speak more about the word as well of the Most High. And yeah, whatever else. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
I might probably need like obviously we are connected on Facebook at the moment. So if anything, my Facebook is always on. I mean, I can be busy sometimes because I do a lot of work here.
Okay.
But I'm more open for like, especially on the weekend because I don't work on Saturday.
Okay.
Because that's the only Sabbath that I've set aside.
Yes.
And Sundays, obviously, here no one works anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always home on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. Same here. Saturday and Sunday. Same
Yeah.
thing. I'm home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw your YouTube, and I see a lot of things that you do, and it's quite powerful. It's everything the Most High really called us to do.
Yes.
Especially at this hour.
Yes, even on my side, trying to talk to family members and those, who I come in contact with, just trying to wake our brothers and sisters up to come out of that Christianity, and the Most High knows who's His, and I always tell Him, you lead me to who you want me to talk with, because when you lead me to who you want me to talk with, then I know what I'm bringing they're going to receive because it's coming from you. So that's how I look at it, and that's how I tell the Most High, unless you bring them and or put me in that space where you want me to speak to them, that's what I will do. Because we don't want to cast out pearls before swine, and
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is not going to receive, so 2/3 of it, 1/3, 2/3 of us just not gonna get it. No matter what we can show them in scriptures, no matter what we can tell them, no matter who we can have them talk to, some of us just gonna still, as we say, stay stuck on stupid. But you know, you gotta keep it moving. You know, you gotta keep it moving. Even if we touch one person, then our work is not in vain.
That's it. The work is done. Yeah, the work. Yes, that's definitely true. You can get to that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do what we gotta do, and the Most High will do what He's got to, what He can do, because He's the only one that's gonna wake His people up.
That's right.
All we do is just show them the truth and
show them the truth.
Let them one that say me that do everything else.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
All right, brother.
I know we didn't pray when we started, but I would like to just, because I'm really blessed right now, so I'd like to maybe pray in Swahili a little bit.
Yeah.
Just make a short prayer in Swahili so we can, before we close.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just thank the Most High. All right, let's do it. Baba Mungu, nashukuru kwa kipindi hiki, kwa kuniweka na ndugu yangu Makayilu, kwa kumweka pamoja nami ili tupate kuongea, tupate kuzungumza mambo ambayo ni yetu, mambo ambayo ni ya kabila yetu, mambo ambayo ni ya familia yetu, mambo ambayo ni ya watu wako, wana wa Israeli, kwa hii barabara ambayo tunatembelea, kwa hii mwendo ambao tunaendea. Baba, tunaomba utuweke moyo, tunaomba utuweke nguvu, tunaomba utuweke bidii, tunaomba utufanye wenye kutii, utufanye wenye kujishusha, utufanye Baba mwamba wako, utufanye Baba kilalo chako, ili watu wako wapate kupata ukweli kupitia mambo ambayo tunaongelea. Baba, tunashukuru kwa hiki kipindi. Mungu, tunasema asante kwa chochote. Baba, tunafurahi kwa upendo wako, tunafurahi kwa neema yako na kwa baraka zako katika yetu maisha yetu. Tukisema hivi nashukuru. Baba, naomba ubariki familia ya Baba Manzambi, ubariki Baba familia yangu, ubariki familia zetu, ili Baba siku nyingine tupate kukutanana, tuzungumze kwa pamoja na tupate kufurahi. Itakuwa ni salama kwetu. Asante, tunashukuru. Amina. Ingeta.
And I'm going to pray with you, brother. Batakane Nzambi, we thank you for this time. We thank you for this opportunity to come together, that we cross the seas, but we are to pull together in the Muwanda and Semi. I thank you for my brother Yahunde. I pray and I ask you that you continue to strengthen him, watch over him, protect and shield him and his family. We praying and we asking that we continue to unite us together as one. We're not two branches, but one branch under your name, Batakane Nzambi. And we praying and we asking you to continue to move, that we show love, and that we show that we care for one another, that we looking out for one another, that we are there for one another, that we will be unified together. We praying and asking you, Batakane Nzambi, that you would have your way, that you would join us and unite us back as one family, Yisolele, that only you can do it, Batakane Nzambi. We tell you, ask you to break down every stumbling wall, everything that tries to keep us separated, to try to divide us. We're praying and we're asking you to continue to move mightily in our lives, that we may come joining together and lifting and continuing to give you all the temple. Kimbo, Batakane Nzambi, Yamazulu, Ingeta. Hallelujah.
Kongo. Thank you. Asante.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Wow. Yes. This is really, thank you for that, and look forward to connecting more and engaging more, possibly.
Most definitely. Yes. And